In firefighting and public safety, reliability is key. For over 20 years, the FireStore has equipped first responders with trusted gear featuring brands like MSA Carnes for helmets and Seek for thermal imaging cameras. Stay prepared. Visit thefirestore.com today. The FireStore, your trusted safety partner.
This podcast is brought to you by Flex 7 from TenCate Protective Fabrics. Flexible, comfortable, and powered with the strength of enforced technology. Flex 7 outer shell fabric is made to move. To learn more, visit tencatefabrics.com/Flex 7.
Breathing in diesel exhaust fumes is like walking into a fire without a mask. Over time, those toxins lead to cancer. Protect yourself with Magnegrip, the easiest, most reliable exhaust removal system that features a true 100% seal to eliminate diesel exhaust fumes. To get free grant assistance, visit magnegrip.com.
I've been told by everybody up on this roof that they're all off the roof. I am on the roof of exposure 4. Got fire through the roof of the fire building in the entire rear section. Now remember giving the payday. As you been accounted for, okay? 610B, that was the day date, 610B.
I'm here, we got a fire. 1.5-story, single-family dwelling, fire shown from the second floor. Give me a second alarm on this.
Up to the top floor, I got people hanging out the top floor windows with a baby.
Commercial building, a lot of fire, a lot of smoke. Go ahead and strike a third alarm on my orders on this.
Got people on the front fire escape here with windows centered below them. We need somebody up there.
Yeah, let them know we got a job. I'm pulling up now. Second alarm, I got a 1-story single-family frame, heavy fire showing from the attic.
So we're using all hands. We got one line stretch, fire on the 4th floor, second line being stretched. Primary stretches are underway.
Hey, welcome back to our fire engineering podcast, The Command Post. I'm Chief Rick Lasky, along with my best buddy and teach partner, Chief John Salka. And as always, we've got another great show for you lined up. A couple reminders. Don't forget, the third Wednesday of every month, we've got our Hump Day Hangout at fireengineering.com with myself, Chief Salka, and then we've got Chief Scott Thompson for the Colony and Assistant Chief Curtis Burt from Pearland, Texas as our co-hosts and partners. And it's always a great topic, great time. So we hope you can join us for that. Don't forget about FDIC again. Start signing up. Get your hotel rooms done now. Get the classes, especially the hot classes. You have to sign up for ahead of time. It's April 7th through the 12th if you're going. John and I are teaching our 5-alarm leadership workshop for 4 hours on Monday, pre-conference. And we're teaching the 3 Degrees of Mayday on Wednesday. We'll be in the booth most of the week and a couple other booths. We're doing our live show from there in the hallway. It's always a great week. Come see us. If you're there, come see us. We're easy to find. If you can't get a hold of us, if we're not teaching, then come to the Fire Engineering Book Booth. We're usually probably there if you're looking to get a hold of us. So that, and if you're looking for any of our upcoming classes, get a hold of us. If you go to my calendar at chieflasky.com, anything that John and I do together is posted on there besides all our other classes. So there you go. So John, I noticed you have like your like hunting attire. Is it cold there? What's the weather like in Orange County, New York right now, buddy?
This is my winter attire. I don't have to be hunting. This is what I wear every day.
I know.
Shirt and vest. That's my clothes.
I love the looks you get when we go teach you somewhere and somebody goes, "Hey, it's going to snow." And you're like, "I love the snow." And they're all like, they look at each other like,
people are so used to just bad mouthing snow and bad mouthing winter. And I'm, and I'm fine with that. I think I told you recently, I forget who it was. It was a gal that we know that moved out of Washingtonville here, moved out of Orange County. She moved down to, I think it was South or North Carolina, the Carolina somewhere. And she was just so happy. She posted a little picture of the backyard. Oh, here we are at the new place. We're so happy. It's so wonderful, and she said, we had, she didn't use this exact term, but something like that. She was like, you know what? We just ready for a change. We had enough in New York. We were there for 30 years and we loved it. We had a great time up there. We had our children, raised our kids. They all went to school. All their friends were up there, but we're looking for something different. And here we are, and it's great. And she says, and I'm not going to say, God, I hate New York, and I couldn't wait to get out of there. And she said, I loved it while I was there. I just want to try something new. She said, I hate all the people that badmouth the place they come from. If you're coming from somewhere that you don't want to be anymore, just say, you know what, we're going to go try something new. And I agree, because I'm one of them guys. I do love New York. I don't love the taxes. I don't love the liberal politicians. But listen, you can't have everything. I live in a beautiful log house in the middle of the woods. I love the Four Seasons. I got my place in Pennsylvania to go skiing. I love it up here. I love the Carolinas too. We vacation down there, but so I don't know. I just thought that was some great advice from a great gal, and I had never thought of it that way before. I'm just so used to people saying, "Oh, I hate New York. I can't wait 2 more years when I retire. I'm getting the hell out of here." And I always feel like saying, "What are you talking like that for? You lived here for 40 years. You told me the whole thing sucked, everything, But anyway, so yeah, I like it here, and I'm going nowhere. Yep.
Well, and I can understand, sometimes where you grew up, things change, areas change, stuff like that, whatever. But it's the same thing. I mean, we moved, to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho for me to take the Chiefs job, and we'd still be there if my first wife did move to Texas, my son, and we love it. 25 years in Texas. This is home. We love it very much. But I'm, like you said, I love the snow. I don't love the 103 to 30-degree days, but I do like it when it's warm. I like the Four Seasons. So I like it when you talk about it. I'm kind of jealous when you show the pictures, like all the snow all over the place up there. And
I love it. Snow is like that's like a treat for me when it snows. It's like a vacation day,
Well, we were just up there, folks. We were just up near John, not too far from John.
Half hour.
Half hour from John's house in Orange County. In Dutchess County, the Houstonville Fire Department hosted a conference. I think their first annual now. They're going to keep doing it, called Get Fired Up. And John, look, you and I, we have the honor, we say this all the time, we have the honor of traveling all over North America teaching classes. And I remember your measuring stick was always, I'd say, so how was the class? You go, oh, it was a great class. It wasn't a Birmingham, but it was a great class because you had such a great time in Birmingham, Alabama. That was always like the plateau.
That was like the standard, yeah.
Oh, but I'm telling you, Bill and the group from Houstonville, the whole group, oh my holy God, did they
every single guy, the guys that we met the first night before we even really knew anybody or did anything, was Friday night before the Saturday seminar. And of course they all knew us, but we didn't know them, right? Oh, how you doing, Chief? How's this? Last time I saw you was at FDIC or whatever. And, but every single guy there had a story to tell and something to do. And like lots of other places, all characters. Everybody was a character. One guy was this, one guy was a commissioner, one guy was the ex-chief, one guy was the captain. And, they were all different personalities and things. And a completely volunteer fire department, well run, well staffed, like 50 or 60 active members or something. I think they said it was real good, which was nice to see in the times, the modern times right now, where a lot of fire departments are struggling everywhere. But it was great group, really great group.
Well, and like I said, you and I've said this before. When we go travel, it's rarely the airplane. Once in a while, we get weather that affects a flight or a connection, or the airplane has mechanical problems. It's rarely ever the hotel. The firefighters and the hosts are always great. Everything else around it is great. It's usually the venue, right? It's the projector doesn't work right, or the lapel mics don't work right.
If we have trouble, it's usually the venue where the class is being held at. And we got not millions of stories, but we got plenty, not a whole lot, but we got plenty of stories about that.
Oh, but this place, and I know Bill, not only is he an elected official there, but he's a big time DJ on the radio, a national syndicated show.
Right. He's like on the town board. His job is with the radio, right? He's the assistant chief, deputy chief for whatever reason, and a whole bunch of other things. Everybody there is so active in the community.
Oh, yeah, they all are. But the venue was like this old. Remember, we pulled up and you called it the junior high. You go. Look at that tower, the clock tower. That's like there's like a observation deck, like up on top. And what did he tell me later? He goes, "Oh yeah, back in World War II, FDR's house is right there." He goes, "They used to have machine guns up there because they had a clear shot that's what built up to protect it." I'm like, John called it, man. We pulled in. He said, there looks like there could have been a turret up there and all this stuff. And sure as shit, man, the history, but that school, the venue, the sound system
was great. The sound system was perfect.
Oh, the breaks, the snacks, the coffee, they had lunch brought in. Oh, I'm telling you, if you want to know how to put on a conference, and we had a great crowd, they had the
first one. Usually guys doing it the first time. Sometimes they miss a couple of things, and okay, we'll take care of that, or we'll get it next time. But they were right on target for everything, right down to the stools that we sat on. And we probably sound silly to some of the guys listening right now, but when you do this a lot, you depend on the venue and comfort for the day. You're there for 8 hours standing up talking, and it's nice when they have it all laid out right.
Oh, there's nothing more frustrating when the projector doesn't work right and all that. He had music in between breaks and stuff.
You know what? That's right. In between, music would come on during the break and all. And the lighting was perfect for the screen. The screen looked good.
It was a great trip. So, Bill, thank you so much. You guys run a class act. Now, so let's back things up. So we get there like a lot of places. When we travel, we love going to dinner with the troops. Neither, we always say this. Neither one of us drinks. Neither one of us haven't drank for like decades. But we don't care. Guys will go out and have a beer or whatever. But it's always fun going to a restaurant or even to a firehouse and having supper. And then we end up talking shop. So Friday night we went, oh my God, to an incredible Italian restaurant. And then Saturday night we went to a
local small restaurant. Yep.
But the conversation, and I sat there at first and I'm listening, going, all of a sudden they're going, so do you, Chief Salka, do you know Jay Jonas? I'm like, oh, Jay Jonas, God, they're best friends. And he's godfather for Johnson, who's a major in the Marines. And they were probies together. And they wrote Rescue 3 together. And then the next thing he's done, and you guys, because you're so close, all the connections. And then
they're really just a half hour away. Even though they're over the mighty Hudson, they're right on the other side.
Well, and the story started, and then before we knew it, we looked at our watches and went, holy crap, the whole evening flew by.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it made me think, John, it made me think of things that you and I have talked about. I even made you say in class, you always talk about, look, you're still extremely active with your volunteer department, but, 30-umpteen years in the FDNY, how you don't miss the circus, but you miss the clowns. And we always talk about, so what made me think of this thing was, maybe we want to talk about the kitchen table tonight, was the fact 2 nights we had dinner. God, they were just great. Sitting with those guys and talking, you and I, we were just in South Dakota, Vermilion, and we had supper we first went to dinner Friday night, and then we had supper at the firehouse Saturday night, and everybody showed up, all these guys and gals, and they had the game on, and we were just talking shop and stories. So it reminded me of the firehouse kitchen table, John. I mean, I cooked for a lot of years, so I was very intimate with the table. To me, the kitchen table is where we laughed the most, where we cried the most, where we argued and fought the most. You said it, once before. It's where we fixed our problems, but we also created problems. Let's talk about the kitchen table and just what it means in a firehouse, because I think it's an area of the firehouse that's often overlooked. I don't think people talk about it as much, John, like they used to about. I know some of my greatest experiences in my career were at the kitchen table. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, absolutely. But I don't want anybody to think that we're saying that nobody else appreciates it like we do, because I think everybody does. If you talk to any firefighter anywhere, a guy with 2 years or 22 years, everybody says, oh, yeah, in the kitchen, it's pretty wild. Everybody does this, everybody does that. Because the kitchen is sort of like I don't want to call it a neutral zone, but everywhere else in the firehouse, you're at work. Then when you go in the kitchen, you're not at work anymore. It's like the break room at the factory or wherever else everybody else works. And you go in there. I don't want to say everybody's guard is down, because sometimes you got to put your guard up even more in the kitchen than somewhere else. But everything changes a little bit different in the kitchen. When you're in the kitchen, everybody's open. Everybody's open for discussion or criticism, including the captain or the deputy. Deputy walks in, somebody might say, nice shoes, Chief, or something like that, So I think that's what's great about the kitchen. It's like everybody's equal. There's no bosses in the kitchen, really, unless you're in there for drill and something else is going on. But that's what's great about the kitchen. It's a place where everybody's sort of on equal footing, and everybody's ready for a shot or for an arrow, and everybody's got a quiver full of them ready to shoot them, too.
A quiver. Well, one of the things I picked up on in your firehouses, your firehouse, Sal Marchese's firehouse at 142 Truck in Queens. I remember in 235 in Brooklyn with John Cullen, one of your guys, one of your firefighters, when he was a lieutenant there, when I went to ride with him. It was the same thing there, and even in Louisville, Texas, same that when you sit down to break bread with the family, when you sit down at the kitchen table, you put this away. You put this cell phone away. And I remember being in a couple of those firehouses, John, where a senior guy would do one of two things if you took your phone out. He would either go, which meant either shut up or put the damn phone away, or they would say, hey, you want to get on that? Go upstairs. The kitchen table.
45 engine, 58 truck. That was the rule. That was a verbal out and out rule. No phones in the kitchen. Go somewhere else and play with that thing.
Yeah, if you got to take a phone call, get out of here. But I never. Yeah, exactly. I used to sit there and the coffee and the conversation. Now a little bit different in the Bronx. I always tell people 2 in the afternoon and 2 in the morning at 45 or 48.
50.
Like,
40, both places.
Yeah, it was 48 engine or 45 engine, both with 56 truck and 58. But 2 in the afternoon, 2 in the morning is like the same time. Guys are sitting in. I remember sitting at 235 engine. I told you with John Cullen, his crew, and Chief Dennis Cross, the battalion, 57 battalion, and it was 2:30 in the morning, and we're at the kitchen table. They're still wearing their bunker pants, because they're so busy. I remember going to 14 fires in 12 hours. It was unbelievable. But having coffee at 2:30 in the morning, talking topics, talking drill. We ended up going drilling after that, but the conversations and the debates and like you said, the teasing that goes on, not the harassment or bullying. That's this ain't 1955, but the good natured. I mean, if there was some fun that went back and forth. If you couldn't take it, shame on you. But nobody was bullying or harassing anybody. But the conversations, John, I swear to God, some of my greatest experiences were just sitting there listening to what they were talking about at that kitchen table. Just to, the tactics. All of a sudden, they'd go from talking about the company picnic or one of the guys' volley or something or whatever to the job they had or there's something. And maybe somebody screwed up from another battalion or another rig or just something. And I'm like, I'll be honest with you. I'm a little not embarrassed to admit this, but I would have been embarrassed. I almost want to get a notepad out and I want to start taking notes, sitting at the kitchen table sometimes, especially in your place. Listening to the guys talk tactics and strategy, talk.
Yep. And what's good about the FDNY, certainly about the Bronx and the companies that I was in was, they're active enough, they're busy enough that there's always some new news. There's always some new event that happened last tour or last night or 2 hours ago. So there's always something new happening at the kitchen table. It's not like they're talking about the same crap that they talked about yesterday. Although big stuff does get talked about over and over and over. But and unfortunately, as you mentioned, mistakes or tragic mistakes, even line of duty deaths sometimes get talked about there. What's going on, somewhere else even. Oh, yeah, you see the guy got killed in Yonkers or Jersey City or wherever it is. And guys are talking, what'd you hear? Do you know anybody over there? Well, I got a buddy. And everybody's listening. One guy's talking. Everybody's listening. Sometimes everybody's talking. When we're talking about the Yankees or we're talking about the Giants or something like that. But sometimes when we're talking about more serious stuff, one or two guys are sort of not leading the discussion, but everybody else ends up quieting down and listen, Yeah.
And again, what was being discussed. I mean, sometimes it's everything. It's nonsense to incredible information to jokes to there might be a TV on up in the corner with the game and nobody's really paying attention. All of a sudden they'll see a play and they'll talk, then they'll go back to talking about that.
Right. Yep.
Guys didn't go, who I feel sorry for, John? The guys that have to live in the firehouses with the condominiums upstairs, which,
the hotel firehouses. Everybody's got their own room with their own bed and their own TV and everything. Yeah,
exactly. Not to run down that rabbit hole, but remember I told you I'm sitting at that conference. We're doing a panel on mental health awareness, and they're all talking about this stuff, which is great. You and I are both huge advocates of that. But I'm like, the worst thing you could do, it's like they weren't even paying attention. As you come back from a bad call, hey, Captain Salka, how's Lasky doing? Well, I don't know. I haven't seen him. When we got back, he's up in his condo with the door closed. It's kind of hard to hide when you've got like dorms and you've got a kitchen table and a recline, all that stuff. But
a place that's not doing a lot of running, a place that's not very active, and those very same places. And I'm not being critical. I'm not being maliciously critical. I am being critical. But the same places that don't do a lot of runs or a lot of work, well, they don't do a lot of drilling and training. Generally, it's not true everywhere. And they don't do a lot of building inspection, and they don't do a lot of familiarizations of buildings. So they end up spending a lot of time back in quarters, and they end up spending a lot of time holed up in their little rooms, And that might seem comfortable and it might seem like a cool thing. Yeah, I'm making whatever dollars it is I'm making per year, and I come into work and take care of the rig, and we have a little discussion in the morning. And then I retreat back up to my room after the house duties, and I take care of some stuff. I'm going to college, so I write a little paper while I'm sitting up there, and I got the TV on watching Fox News, and it literally turns into like a little hotel room, like you're on a little trip somewhere. Once in a while they get a run. Maybe some of them don't even eat lunch together. Some of those places that have those little rooms, those little bedrooms instead of a bunk room, some of them don't even have a meal together. Some of them just bring in their own meal. They get their own little refrigerator in the room, and it's just, I don't know. I think they're missing, the best part of the fire department. They're beating the best part of the brotherhood. They're missing, some really good stuff by not being together.
Well, it's kind of like the hovering point, the meeting point, where everybody goes at the big dry erase boards usually in there with all the notes, who needs coverage, who's doing a fundraiser for who. I actually kind of feel sorry for them, John, for the places that don't know that experience. And I think that's part of it. Some of these guys came together that have never really experienced that, so they don't know to do it. So it takes some, like me, I love going in as a chief, stopping in as a chief and going, hey guys, and because you've always heard me say one of my favorite sayings, Chief Tom Freeman used to say, hey, coffee pot's always on. He would say, hey, come on by, kid. Come on, Rick, coffee pot's always on. Coffee pot was always on. Meaning, come on by, let's sit down, let's talk. But let me ask you this, John. So we've talked in class plenty of times about the kitchen table, all our different classes. So you're the lieutenant you're the captain at 48 Engine 56 Truck, pretty tough house in the Bronx, good guys.
What a coincidence that was, yeah.
But how important is it, and you and I've talked about this, for the company officer, and as I always say, the grown-up in the room, to guide the conversation sometimes. I've already mentioned, and let me say this real quick before you answer. I remember sitting in, I think it's 285 with 142 in Queens. I remember sitting there, and the guy started chirping about somebody very negatively. And one of the guys goes, guys, visitors, me and Curtis, it's like, we don't trash our family in front of anybody outside the family. Let's not bring our family fights outside. How do you, as a company officer, what advice would you give to these guys and gals out there? And I think it's necessary that you kind of, without being a censor, have to kind of guide those conversations. You've got to be the one that once in a while goes, or gives the look where somebody goes, I guess what I'm saying is out of line. Because there are things in the kitchen sometimes we should not be talking about. There's certain things anywhere. And someone's got to be the policeman. Someone's got to be the grown-up in the room to go, really? Or sometimes just that look to keep somebody from saying something they shouldn't say. Or really verbally attacking someone. You know what I'm saying? Not just a good heart. Sometimes even a loud coaching. So what advice, you've seen it. You talk about in class about we're not the same person. What do you do to kind of
I'll tell you. Well, number one, it depends on where you work, because some places, like the places I worked, 48 Engine, by far, one of the toughest kitchens in the job. Certainly toughest kitchen in the Bronx. Tough place. Bunch of tough guys there. And you got to be careful what you say. You got to be careful what you do. And, there's high standards there, and they are maintained by the men, by the group. Now, as far as an officer goes, that's great. I was a captain there, and they had great lieutenants there. There's guys that were lieutenants there when I was a captain there, and they're still there. They've been there so long. They're highly respected. They're very, very talented guys. And I'm using 48, but I can use 45 or 48, both places. 45 and 58 on Tremont Avenue, 48 and 56 on Webster Avenue, where I was a captain. Both places, the group of guys, all the guys are so good. They're so well-versed. You get so much experience doing what they do. There's rarely a need for me to guide a conversation in the kitchen. Now, in 48, if I tried, somebody probably look at me and say, hey, Cap, why don't you just go upstairs? Like they're not even going to put up with that. If they're talking about something that I'm familiar with, there are places I'd probably be better just pouring my coffee and going upstairs. They'd probably be right. I'm not saying they chase me out of the kitchen, but most of the time they got enough sense. They know what to talk about, what not to talk about. Or one of the senior guys, if that starts to go in that direction. For example, talking about a guy who fouled up bad enough that he's not there anymore. You know what I'm saying? The guys there drove a couple of guys out. And somebody started talking about this guy that left. Oh, yeah, Maloney. You remember him? Somebody will say, I don't want to talk about him again. And that'll be their way of guiding the conversation. Now, I guess I could, as a lieutenant or a captain, do that. And if you are a lieutenant or a captain and you're in a more, what's the word? Let's just call it an easier crowd. If you're in a little easier crowd, you probably have a little better ability maybe on guiding the conversation or just throwing a comment like that once in a while. You know what? I don't feel like talking about that again, or I don't feel like talking about that today. And it may work and it may not work. I can't think of 5 conversations that I've been present for in the kitchen that I was totally turned off by. I can't think of 5. Some of them I'm like, oh God, they're talking about this again. I was here yesterday. They were talking about this. Sometimes I'm just like, I don't know why they're doing it again. But I really can't think of more than a couple, 2, maybe 3 times where they were talking about something that I was like wincing, saying, just stop it, So luckily, most of the time, the crowd itself, most of the time, the group itself is well guided, and they end up picking decent topics, and they jump from certainly topic to topic. If you're in there from 7 in the morning till 9, you come in at 7, get dressed real quick, check the rig out. You're in the kitchen now for an hour and 45 minutes till 9 o'clock, till the bells ring. They're going to talk about 20 different things in an hour and 40 minutes. It's going to go from topic to topic to topic to topic. Every new the guy that walks in the kitchen at 8:30, puts down a bag of rolls or bagels on the table. And, oh, man, you should have seen. I just drove by 88 and 38. We're out on the road, and, he'll bring something else up. But so like I said, the topics vary dramatically. I haven't been present for more than maybe 1 or 2 that I couldn't stomach or that I really didn't feel like being part of. And most of the time, if it was me, if I felt like I'm not dealing with this, most of the time I'd leave. I'd just go outside and work on the rig if I was a fireman, or run up to the office with my cup of coffee and get my riding list ready.
Well, let me change gears here a little bit. What are some of the things, and we've talked about this again, I keep saying this in class, that you've got to be, as the company officer, you've got to be tuned in, you've got to be dialed up, you've got to be paying attention, whether you're in there or not, to everything going on. You can't be like asleep in your recliner all the time, not paying attention. You can't be out on the floor. What might be some of the things you would pick up on, John, at the kitchen table that would perk your ears up a little bit, that maybe later in the day you got to talk to a guy, or maybe you got to do a little research? What are some of the things you might hear at the kitchen table that would,
Right. And it wouldn't be, I could probably think of a couple of particular things, but it's not the particular thing that's about it. It's about if you're paying attention. Sometimes you're at the kitchen table and you're really not there. Sometimes I'm at the kitchen table and Billy Bergen will be sitting next to me, my lieutenant that I'm relieving. He's going home and I'm coming in. I'm now in the kitchen. He's still sitting there getting ready to finish his cup of coffee, go upstairs and shower and change and go home. But we catch each other in there for a minute, and all of a sudden we're talking about something, and the rest of the kitchen's talking about something else. Or the rest of the table, people right across from us, maybe even next to us. Sometimes I'm not even involved in the conversation, and that's just not me just as an officer, but even sometimes there's a couple of firemen at the corner of the table, 2 chauffeurs talking or whatever. So sometimes you're not even really in the kitchen, even though you're sitting in the kitchen. Other times, sometimes you hear it, and I think this is good. The men in the FDNY that I've worked with, and all the places I worked at, and I've worked in special operations places and ordinary places and trucks and engines and uptown and downtown, the Bronx, Manhattan, Brooklyn. And if there's stuff that I'll create a fake situation. I don't want to say like a guy got arrested off duty, because if you get arrested, you got to notify your officer. It's in the rules and regulations. If you don't, PD notifies headquarters, and you, meaning the guy that gets arrested, you end up getting in trouble for not notifying him, But anyway, something less than that. Maybe a guy got, had a fight, with a guy in a bar or from another company or from somewhere else, and you don't know anything about it. And the guy at the table mentions it to somebody else, or just announces it when he walks in. Or a guy walks in with a black eye at 5, and I'm like, oh, is that what happened last night? Now you're listening, and you're thinking to yourself, gee, was he working last night? Or what did they mean last night? Where did that happen? Sometimes you just got to turn your listening ears on and see what's going on. But I got to tell you, sometimes I just let it go in one ear and out the other. Like I am not the fireman police. I'm not worried about a guy who got in a tussle last night on Main Street off duty between his day tours. You know what I'm saying? Like, now, you still got to pay attention, because something else could come out of that. You know what I'm saying? But that's a touchy subject. That's a touchy subject. It's like people talking at the dinner table when their parents are there. You know what I'm saying? Some stuff you're just probably not supposed to talk about, but once in a while guys do. Sometimes guys got diarrhea of the mouth, and Sometimes one guy at the end of the table is like, Billy, is that the guy? Last night was the fight? And all of a sudden everybody's faces turn. Everybody else is as surprised as you are when you hear stuff like that,
But how many times have you been sitting there? I know I have, where I'm drinking my coffee, talking to another officer or whatever, and I've got one ear going to this guy, and I'm listening to a little quiet conversation going on down there about somebody's got trouble at home or financial, or there's something that we've talked about this. As a company officer, you've got to be dialed into what's going on in your fire. Not meddling in people's problems, but if you want to head something off at the pass, a problem, if you want to make sure you're the mom or dad in a room and taking care of your people, you and I've said this. Maybe we can head something off. We hear something going on, and you go, and then there's a way later on. You're passing John. Oh, hey John, how you doing? Good. Hey John, come here a second. You okay? This isn't normally you. It's just you and I in the hallway, right? Nobody else around. You usually are okay. I got stuff going on, Cap. At home. Okay. Well, hey, tell you what. Don't want to meddle, but if you want to talk, if you need someone to talk to, just come upstairs, right, man. I've been, and about an hour later, you hear, hey, Captain Salka, got a second? Yeah. Look, I'm going to take you up on your offer. Boss, I don't know what the hell to do. And those little things. It's like you're at home.
And they won't do that for every boss. They won't do that for every boss. Right. So if you're the guy that they're coming to knock on the door, you should feel good about it. Although, he's coming not to drop something in your lap, but if the guy needs help and he's coming to you, at work, or whether you're at work or not, he's coming to you, his work boss, even though the issue is home related. At least he trusts you, and maybe you'll be able to help him.
Well, and you've got 5 kids. You can't tell me you heard at home at the dinner table, and you heard one of your boys, your daughter, say something. You went, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna talk to them later on about that. There's something going on.
Right, right. And you know what's funny though? I was just out hunting the other day with a buddy of mine from the volunteer firehouse, and I think I told you a couple of little stories, a couple of little things he said, which was pretty interesting. We talked a lot about him and his job and his people, and he's like a general manager. He's like a big boss at like a Chili's, he's been in the restaurant business for a long time. Yeah. He's the equivalent to you and I, but in the restaurant business, and tell me about all his people and how many, I asked him a lot of questions. How many people do you have in your restaurant? How many people do you actually supervise? And it was like 55 people or something like that, and this is an everyday business. This is a restaurant that opens every day at 9 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock in the morning and closes at midnight. They get a day shift and a mid shift and an evening shift, and for bosses and for I was going to say waiters. For what do they call them now? They don't call waiters.
Servers. But anyway,
servers, and and a bartender, and then he's got managers. And so he's the big boss of the place, and he's got like a bar manager. He's got like a house manager, and he has a food manager. Each one's. I said, how do you know? How do you know how many damn chickens to order? How many pork chops to order at the end of the week? Is there a typical number? You said, well, when they get filled out, when they get filled at the end of the night,
They don't order live chickens, do they?
No. I just meant, how many orders of the different stuff that they order?
How many chickens do you order?
He said, it's just all, as the food goes out, it all gets registered. Somebody puts a print out. There's what we sold tonight. So at the end of the week, they know what they sold, and they have regular routines that they do. But it was interesting. He said, I got this many people, this many people, this many people. And servers, I said, you have a hard time hiring people? He said, sometimes yes, sometimes no. Now is really no different than any other time. He said, for example, I had a young man come in a little while ago. I was advertising for servers. The guy wandered in, looked very nice, looked very professional looking, dressed nicely and all. He said he walked in and sat down. How you doing? Good. He said, okay, so what are you, what are you looking for? Well, I have a little bit of experience. I used to work here. I used to work there. Very good. And you see what we do here? Yeah. What hours are you looking for? What shift or whatever? He said, okay. How old are you? Well, did you graduate high school? You got any college? Where you going? You know what you're doing? Yeah, I'm not sure. Listen, okay, here's the application. You can fill that out right now. And, we'll talk a little bit when you get done. Okay, thanks. So the kid says, do you have a pen? So now I'm sitting with my friend, and I'm looking at him now when he's telling a story. And the kid says, do you have a pen? He said, I turned around and I looked at him. I reached over and I put 2 fingers. He said, I grabbed the application. Whoosh, I slid it right out of his hand. I took it back. I said, come back when you have a pen. And he chased the kid out. He chased him out.
And this is like you said, he's like their top general manager. Like if he wins
He's
awards.
the general manager of the whole building. He hires and fires the managers and everybody, right?
But he gets awards and stuff because he's so good.
Oh, he's gotten, I forget what he told me, 10 or 12 awards in the past 15 years for like the best regional general manager. And nobody else has even got it like twice, you know. But he said, and the kid came back an hour later with a pen. He said, I apologize. I should have been ready. He said, no problem. Here's the application. Kid filled it out. He ended up hiring me. He's one of his all-stars. So he wasn't gonna give him a pen. He said, when you come for an application, you got to be prepared. Come back with a pen. But the kid did come back, apologize for it, and everything went on. Another great story he told me. He said, I also got 2 servers, 2 gals that are with me. They've been with me for 30 years in 2 different restaurants. When I left my old job, they followed me to my new job. He said, these 2 gals with me, they're experienced, they're tremendously experienced. They know the business backwards and forwards, and they are eyes and ears open all day long. They watch everything. He said, whether I'm working or not, I know what happens every day. He said, there are other people in the restaurant who wouldn't even think, and I'm making this part up now, like of coming in late or doing something wrong because I find out about it. Now, in a firehouse, you might call them rats. You know what I'm saying? But these 2 gals are faithful and loyal to him. And he said, when they're working, it's like I'm working. It's like I'm there. People are on their best game when those 2 gals are working. I said, I thought that was pretty cool, too. And I'd like to think that, and I know it's not so, but like when Willie Tracy was working, when some of my all-stars are working in a firehouse, I know guys probably, did their best, not necessarily to please him, but because they know that he's, when you're around guys that do it 100%, that are, then you try and do it as well,
Well, and I don't want to leave out 66 whatever percent of the fire service, the volunteers from this kitchen table thing, because you and I've talked about this plenty of times. Let's move from the career firehouse to the volley firehouse. I know. So Wichita West, I love talking about, everybody there. Chief Ryan Fetzer has been on our show with you and I a bunch of times. But that 5th Monday, the 5th Monday for us, Monday night's drill nights. Yours is Wednesday. You got that 5th day of the month, and they just use that. That's meal night. Number one, that's meal night. Everybody brings something to eat. Everybody brings, potluck, or sometimes we just order pizzas or just order something from the outside.
That's exactly what we do.
And now let me back it up just a second. I got to throw a little thank you out there. So Laura Walker, her and her husband Mark's one of my wife's deputies there at Wichita County. Laura, she's a baker, so every drill night, no matter what, she shows up with it's just horrible. These cakes and stuff she brings are, John, I'd be a diabetic. They're phenomenal. Laura, she just kills us all. She brings in this stuff that's phenomenal. It's always like, who doesn't like cake? Her desserts are incredible. So thank you, Laura. But that, there's a different kind of air, John, on that night. Whether not just the banquet, not just the once in a while picnic, that kind of thing, but that 5th Wednesday or 5th Monday of the month, we're not, there's just, I don't know, because maybe we're not training. There's just a little bit of a different, people tend to sit down. We're having more conversations. I don't know what it is about food.
The pressure's off. Yeah.
Right. I don't know what it is about food and sitting down with the meal or a pot of coffee. You and I walk into firehouses when we're teaching, and I love it. If they know us, we walk in, what's on the kitchen table for us? Chief, what are you taking your coffee? Chief, what are you taking? And God, I love that. So, we used to say that when you walk in the firehouse, there's a cup of coffee for you, Chief. They either want to talk to you or they want to talk to you.
Right. It's a social prop. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, just so, I mean, even for our volunteer department. So, same thing you said, you made me think about when you said bring in a bag of Danish or bagels. That's a Monday night thing. Monday night for us, there were times you come in, you bring some food ahead of time. You drop a bag of treats down there. That was like Laura bringing, she always made a cake or something. The people were like, can we chop this thing up now or do we have to wait till after a drill?
I know when I walk in South Plymouth Grove, every Wednesday night, doesn't even have to be the 5th, every Wednesday night, as soon as I walk in, if Big Daddy's there, right? He looks at me, goes, coffee's on. Him and me and about 3 or 4 other guys like coffee.
Bill Pappas, right? Bill Pappas?
Billy Pappas.
Oh, God, I love that. There's a guy, John, Not a holiday goes by. Not a holiday goes by where bink, my phone goes off. Hey Chief, hey Rick, Merry Christmas. Hey Rick, happy. I mean, that guy.
Nice man.
Oh my God, just a wonderful. He looks like the kind of guy as a senior firefighter I would never want to piss off either. By the way, but
no, and he's a great guy, and he pours himself into what he's there all the time. He's got to be number one on runs, which is, I think it's going to change. I'm not sure. I hope not, but he's moving. He's moving, and he's moving farther away. He's going to be farther away actually than me. He's going to have to drive past my house to get to the firehouse. He was always our guy down the block, first one there, open the door, start the rig up, pull it out, first one. Everybody else rolls up. The rig's already outside running. Now he'll be lucky to make the first rig, But whatever, we'll see what happens. But
what a great guy! Well, when we went to pick up your ladder truck, the first thing you guys did was take us across the street to that little deli for breakfast. And again, I'm just, for our listeners and viewers, as we close things out here on this episode, I just got to say this, John, openly, not without hurting anybody's feelings. I feel sorry for you, I guess. If you don't have this going on in your firehouse, if you don't have that. You don't have to do it all day long. You don't have to do it, just that time. Some places it might be one time a day you can sit down and just talk. Just, guys.
I got a quick question before we wrap up. Quick question. Yeah. For whoever's listening, we ended up we got a big table with 8 chairs around it on the apparatus floor now. A lot of people in the past couple of years have been going to that. Some way in the back. We ended up with ours in the middle between 2 rigs that are both facing out. One facing the rear, one facing the front. So right in the middle, there's no rig driving through there. We put a table there. And every run, we end up sitting around at that table for 10, 15, 20 minutes after it's over, which is great.
I used to talk about, we buy a real nice furniture for the kitchen, then we go dumpster diving and we bring stuff back for the apparatus floor. And you're right. There's actually a Facebook page back in the day, whatever it's called, where you could go to it and there's people submit their pictures and guys sitting there having coffee, talking or whatever.
I see guys with a table with chairs around it and a couch and 2 recliners all on the apparatus floor at the back behind the rigs, turn it into a living room.
Oh, with a tea, a coffee, an energy drink or whatever. But guys, I'm just saying, if you're not doing this, trust me, I'm telling you, I never knew the value of it of a young firefighter because I really wasn't paying attention. It was just normal for me. Later on in life in the fire service, you start to really realize the value of the kitchen table, man. That rallying point. Like I said, that's where we laugh. That's where we cry. That's where we have debates and arguments. That's where we solve the world's problems. I
stopped by Engine 1 in Wichita when I was there. Brian was, I think, at the academy. I can't remember what, but they had a table, just an old kitchen table and some rickety kitchen chairs in the middle of the apparatus floor where one of the columns came down, between the bays. And a coffee machine plugged in right there on the apparatus floor. You didn't even have to get up from the apparatus floor to get a cup of coffee. It was great.
God, I'm telling you, and like I said, I could walk into your firehouse in the Bronx and you had a lot of firehouses in the Bronx when you were a battalion, but 45 and 58 where you were stationed, unless it was like duty day, training, whatever, if I wanted to find people, it was the kitchen. If I wanted to find, if the guys weren't on a run, if they weren't checking the rigs, if they weren't training, if they weren't doing I would just go right to the kitchen and it was like, there they are. It's like, the locker room. It would just, anyway, try it, folks. I'm telling you, you don't have to, it doesn't take anything elaborate. You already have it in a firehouse, and your volley place for meal night or whatever, for that 5th Monday that you do, like we did at Wichita West. The kitchen table is it's invaluable. If you're not doing it, get back to doing it. If you used to do it, get back to it. Like I said, try it, whatever. You won't regret it. Any closing thoughts, buddy? Or you good?
Nothing other. That's it. You got my closing thought right there. If you're not doing it, try it. And if you used to do it, get back at it. Yep. It's a lot of fun. It's a great little social, like I said, pit stop in the middle of a day, in the middle of a run or whatever, middle of the night sometimes.
Perfect. John, if they want to get a hold of you, they have you come teach a class or just pick your brain, what's the best email?
Chief John Salka at gmail.com.
And I'm Chief Lasky at gmail.com. You can catch John. We're on most of the social media sites. Either that or watching Fox News. You'll catch us if we're not out teaching. But we always ask you folks in closing to please keep the men and women armed forces in your thoughts and prayers. And remember, if you got the decals on your helmets, you got the tattoos, God bless you, the T-shirts. But remember, never forgetting truly means never forgetting. Be safe. God bless you. And we will catch you next time on the Command Post.
In firefighting and public safety, reliability is key. For over 20 years, TheFireStore has equipped first responders with trusted gear featuring brands like MSA Carnes for helmets and Seek for thermal imaging cameras. Stay prepared. Visit TheFireStore.com today. The FireStore, your trusted safety partner.
This podcast is brought to you by Flex 7 from TenCate Protective Fabrics. Flexible, comfortable, and powered with the strength of enforced technology. Flex 7 outer shell fabric is made to move. To learn more, visit tencatefabrics.com/Flex 7.
Breathing in diesel exhaust fumes is like walking into a fire without a mask. Over time, those toxins lead to cancer. Protect yourself with Magnegrip, the easiest, most reliable exhaust removal system that features a true 100% seal to eliminate diesel exhaust fumes. To get free grant assistance, visit Magnegrip.